Morning, good afternoon, or good evening. You are all welcome to the panel. Please accept the suitable welcome message according to your local time zone. There are panelists from different locations of the world, for example, Nagano, Japan, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. And as far as I know, that there are more than 12 hours difference between these two cities. First of all, I would like to thank Anatolian University Libraries Consortium for organizing this online session. And also, I would like to thank all our distinguished panelists for accepting our invitation. It's my pleasure, great pleasure to moderate the session. Thank you all the panelists. We will talk about global interlibrary loan and document supply services and some unique cases from different parts of the world during the COVID-19 days in this session. Before starting the presentations, I would like to remind some details to the all audience. Please turn off your microphones, cameras, and we will accept all the questions at the end of the session. So, if you have any question, please send them to us using the chat box. And please identify which panelist you asked the question. As I mentioned before, there are 4 panelists in the session, and we are going to start with Tainá. Before giving the microphone to her, I would like to share her short resume with you. Tainá ASSIS is a doctoral student in Information and Communication Science at the University of Toulon, France. She holds her master's degree in Information Science from the University of Brezilya and a degree in Library Science from the same institution. She is also a technologist in systems analysis and development at the Higher Education Institute of Brezilya. She is a researcher at the Brazilian Institute of Information in Science and Technology. She participates in the document delivery and resource sharing section of the IFLA as an elected member. She is representative of the ISSM Brazilian Center. She participates in the organizing committee of the Luso-Brazilian Conference on Open Science. Tainá, phone is yours. Please go ahead. You can start your presentation. And again, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I share my presentation here. 1 minute, please.
Yes, that's good.
Yes. Okay. Here. Okay. Can I start? Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tainá ASSIS, and I'm a researcher at the Brazil Institute of Information on Science and Technology in Brazil. First, I'd like to thank the event organizers for this invitation. It's a pleasure for me. In my time, I tend to present to you a little bit of the scenarios in Brazil about libraries and the actions of my institution that support the share and access to scientific information. So I also apologize for my English, but I do my better here. Okay, so let's start to talk a little about Brazil. 1 minute, yes. Brazil, as you know, Brazil, which is a country in South America, is a country with large dimensions, and the numbers on this slide demonstrate this fact a little. So here we have a total of population of Brazil, the area, and in the other cards, I separated the numbers about libraries in Brazil. So we have academic libraries here, public and private, and only public libraries, this number, and we have a research library. We have this number also. So here, it's possible to see a coverage of science and technology libraries in Brazil. It's a map shows the distribution of library in the national territory. So it's very concentrated more in a principal regions of Brazil. So in Brazil, we have some other numbers that's interesting to present you. In Brazil, we have numerous library networks that promote shared information research. Here, I separate 3 of these diverse information networks are listed here. The first network that is Institution, IBICT. So it is libraries of research institutions of the Brazilian Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. Yes, and the focus of this network is science and technology. The second network of libraries is of the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation. Is the field of the health. Here is the information. So Oswaldo Cruz Foundation is a health, and the other one is a Brazilian company of agricultural research library systems that is to attend to the national system of agricultural research. So we have 3 these examples of the networks in Brazil. And my institution now, I'd like to introduce my institution and some of the national services that is responsible for and that relate to the events team. So the Brazilian Institution of Information Science and Technology, IBICT, is an institution responsible for conducting IST policy in my country. So this is an institution. This institution is public. It was created as the Brazilian Institution of Bibliography. I'm so sorry. And documentation, and years later, it was renamed, called to Brazilian Institution of Information Science and Technology. So here, in this slide, we have an institutional mission that is promote competence, research development, and information infrastructure in science and technology for the production, socialization, and integration of scientific and technological knowledge. We have some different services to community, focusing in scientific community. So I separated some of these services to show for you. The first one is a national collective catalog of serious publications, CCN. It's the first service created by IBICT, and it aims to gather information about the collections of serial technical scientific publications present in Brazilian libraries. We have this total of participating libraries today, and this number of the Tainá important system for libraries in Brazil. The second service I separated here is a Bibliodata network. Bibliodata network is another national network coordinated by IBICT, and the objective is to disseminate the country's bibliographic collections, share records, and bibliographic resources. So we have this total participating libraries, 181, and this total records in our databases. So the Bibliodata and CCN are different a different service because Bibliodata you share the different types of the documents in your database, and CCN is only to technical scientific publications, serious publications, journals and others. So it's different. And the third service is a program of bibliographic commutation. Commute. Here, the commute is a important system to facilitate the share and access of any user to technical scientific documents present in the collections of institutions throughout the national territory. So we have in commute registration of individuals, of legal entities, of libraries who share your information, and libraries participating, requesting libraries also registration in our database. So, in additional information, it's important to say that Commute has a part of the OCLC, and we have this number of requests in January to March the last year. So we use also the services of the OCLC. So, and the new institutional project we now stay working is a PINAX. PINAX is a Brazilian integrated catalog of bibliographic records. It's a national service that will make it possible by means of a single research platform to retrieve the bibliographic technical scientific records presented in the collections of Brazilian teaching and research institutions. So the idea of the PINAX is to harvest this information on the CCN and the bibliographic and Commute, and put this information in our only the platform database to the any user can access looking for other publication, scientific publication in this database. So it's a new project that we work it. In the scenario about open access to scientific information, and now in open access or open science also, the institution also has its initiatives consolidated and of a great relevance for the country. So the first service is a Brazilian institution, Brasilia Portal for Scientific Publications of Open Access, or ASSIS, that is a multidisciplinary portal that allows free access to full text Brazilian scientific publication by Brazilian authors linked to university and research institutions. And now we will start to collect also research data. So we have these numbers of this database was there, and the other one in this scenario of open access is a Brazilian Digital Library of Thesis Dissertations, BDTD. BDTD integrates in a single open access portal the information system of the thesis and dissertation existing in Brazilian teaching and research institutions. So, BDTD is harvested by ASSIS, but BDTD is also harvested by the network digital library of these dissertations, the international network about these institutions in the world. So, in these are our services that we work in, and in the service for shared and access technical and scientific information during the pandemic, we also development of other directory to share information, scientific information with the, well, yeah, well, 9 times. So sorry, 9. So we created the directory of open access scientific information services of coronavirus. This is a collaboration with the UNESCO Brezilya in Brazil, and the principal objective, the main objective is to bring together the source of scientific information open access, national and international, which makes available content about coronavirus and COVID. So, in this directory, it's possible to access the publications like these citations, scientific journals, scientific articles, journals, and the other publications. This is the directory interface. You can see that the contents have been divided by type of publications. So we organize these informations in these categories. And here, for example, if you click on a scientific articles in here, you'll be able to reserve the database and have access to open access publications. So this is a directory that is very useful for researchers in Brazil, and we have a partnership with other countries also to use this directory. To finish my presentation, because of time, I would like to say that organization share in the access to information research are fundamental processes to support accounting, scientific, and technological development. So all of our actions are very important to bring this result for our country. So this is my references, and thank you for this opportunity, and I'm available to the questions of the. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tainá. It was an interesting presentation. I got some detailed information about your institution and your activities during about open access. It was really interesting. I'm sure that you are going to have some questions from the audience. At the end of the session, we will have a chance to answer all the questions. Yes, we forward the microphone to Mr. Muhteşem Önder. He's a friend of mine. I'm going to bring you some brief information about him. And before coming to UWC ISAK, Mr. Önder worked in Turkey. In addition to being a librarian, he teaches information literacy. He earned his MBA through Özyeğin University. At UWC ISAK, he plans to use his previous experience to enhance the research abilities of students, as well as creating a strong e-library for UWC ISAK. Muhteşem, this is your turn, and phone is yours. Please go ahead and start your presentation.
Thank you very much. Hello. I would like, my presentation is a little bit about all Japan, so I try to, introduce you this beautiful country with its libraries, and of course, at the end of my talk, that I will talk about the effect of COVID-19, especially for high schools in that sense, because I'm working in a high school. First, let me give you a brief information about the libraries in Japan. Located in the northern Asia, Japan is a Pacific Rim, contain four big islands with a total land area of 378,000 square kilometers. The first unified government was established in the 4th century. It's a very old country. Today, Japan is a democratic constitutional monarchy with a population of over 127 million people, and lots of them are living in Tokyo, by the way. It's a big, big city. It's like Istanbul. The word for library in Japanese is tosokan. Each city, population over 50,000, has its own public library, which is a very popular establishment in the Japanese community. Information technology has been causing, of course, rapid change in the libraries. According to the statistics from the Japanese Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communication, internet access for households in Japan has been over 80% since the last year, and 70% of individuals has internet access. Almost all academic libraries and public libraries, I will talk soon about them, have their own public online catalog available via internet. The first public library opened 1872 after Western culture was first introduced. The GLA was founded in 1892 to promote library services and librarianship in Japan. In 1906, the first All Japan Library Conference was held, and in 1929, the GLA became a member of the International Federation of Library Association and Institution, as we know, IFLA. After the World War II, a new library law was enacted in 1950 under the Constitution of Japan. This law stipulated that public libraries should be tax supported, free of charge, and adequate to meet the information needs of the community. Along with Japanese rapid economic growth with the 1960s, libraries underwent a remarkable development. Mobile libraries were introduced, along with services for children, services for disability, handicapped people, and audiovisual materials, and with computers. The GLA is a non-profit organization representing the library profession in Japan, and membership of this association actually is composed of individual members, institutional members, and supporting members. I try to give you a general idea about the libraries in Japan. Now I would like to talk about public libraries, academic libraries, and school libraries and special libraries. And of course, at the end, I will talk about National Diet Library, which is the sole national library in Japan. There are more than 3,000 public libraries in Japan. And there are more than 6,000 professional librarians working at those libraries, and they lend out 656 million books and audiovisual materials, and each person borrowed 5.5 items. They like to read, really. The number of towns without a public library is fewer than ever. However, this is largely because the total number of local municipalities in Japan decreased due to the widespread merging of cities, towns, and villages. With the rapid spread of information and communication technology in recent years, the Japanese information environment has changed. Most people have, of course, access to internet and computers. Local governments have promoted networking, and online systems have been installed in many public libraries, even in small towns. Thus, people can use, online public access catalogs and digital content via the internet. The integrated circuit tag has also been introduced at several libraries. The communities are diverse, and they try to adapt the needs of this diverse needs. The Japan Library Association is holding a series of continuing education programs and has started a new community to explore developments in the library profession. I want to talk about a little bit academic libraries. There are more than 800 four-year universities, daigaku, in Japan. And there is no official certification for academic librarians in Japan, but there are more than 7,000 staff members have librarian certification, actually, which is called CSHO. In most university libraries, the bibliographic and holdings that are entered into the database of National Institute of Informatics, and this database, the institution also provides document delivery and interlibrary loan services. Of all the academic libraries, 9 catalog available on the internet, and over 100 institutional repositories have open access, through which one can access academic journal articles, research projects, reports, or classroom materials. School libraries, there are all schools, of course, have libraries and they are the prevalence of school libraries is due to the school library law, which stipulated that schools should have libraries, although an amendment made it no obligatory for schools to hire a teacher librarian professionally. Thus, many school librarians have worked without any official qualification. Since 1990s, reform movements actually have arisen to develop school libraries, and more people started to take an interest to our librarianship. People have become more aware to need to promote more voluntary reading among children, to change school education into a modern, more individualized and child-centered teaching style, and to develop information literacy instruction in schools. Furthermore, some government measures in the 1990s and 20,000 and recent years have budgeted especially for improvements of school library books and facilities. There are special libraries in Japan. Special libraries differ from other libraries because they provide unique resources and services. They belong to a diverse group of organizations, including government offices, local assemblies, private institutions, research institutions, enterprises, universities and colleges, museums, and other organizations. There are almost 2,000 special libraries in Japan. The GCLA was founded in 1952 and has over 500 member institutions. It is the largest of several associations related to special libraries. They provide, of course, the seminars and different activities all around to Japan. They also provide information on their website and conduct research on special libraries in order to contribute to the development of libraries and information professionals. And now I will shortly talk about the National Diet Library. I hope I am still in my time. The National Diet Library is the sole national library in Japan, which is established in 19 National Diet Library Law. It consists of the Tokyo Main Library, Kanseikan, and the International Library of Children's Literature. The library's primary function is to assist the Diet members in performing their duties as elected members of Parliament. The library's Research and Legislative Reference Bureau provides research services to the Diet. It replies to more than 40,000 research requests per year, and also researches issues expected to attract attention of the Diet members. The library publishes the results of its research in its own publication. As the only legal depository library in Japan, the National Diet Library acquires all materials published in Japan, as we know, the similar one in Turkey, preserves them as the national cultural heritage, and compiles the Japanese national bibliography. With these collections, the library provides services directly to on-site users and indirectly through interlibrary services and internet. I can talk about more, but because time is limited, now I would like to, give you a general idea about the COVID-19 effect.
You have 5 more minutes, don't worry about it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. Because I tried to, explain in general, I hope I didn't miss anything about this wonderful country. The best thing in Japan, the postal service. Let me tell you that, guys. It's amazing. You can almost get anything by using the postal service in just days. Of course, this affects interlibrary law. And among universities, not just nationally, but internationally, there is how do you say that? There's an organization in North America which connects the North American libraries with Japanese libraries and other libraries for just for sharing their resources. But of course, especially with the COVID-19 starting from the March this year, I should also tell you that the Japan culture is already very careful with using masks and very careful with social distancing, and they're following the rules really, really good. So they just, stop the services for a while because, it can be carried with other things. But for us, as a high school library, the main problem is instead of, this is COVID-19 effect on us actually, not just, sharing our resources, but because we have lots of students from all over the world, we have difficulties to provide resources to them, to America, to South America, to North America, to Africa, to Asia, to anywhere that you can think. And with that, actually, of course, electronic resources becomes more and more important, and it helps us to, join our resources with them for their education while they were not here. We did night lessons, especially for the time difference, because to prevent students to affect from the time difference too much. So we just send the materials to them by using an education automation system. And that's how we handle the COVID-19 up to now. Just a month ago, if I'm not wrong, that Japanese government opened Japan doors to the students who wants to continue their education in Japan. So we are lucky enough to have almost all our students here. That's all for now. Thank you for listening. I will be here and waiting for your questions at the end of the session, I guess.
Thank you so much, Muhteşem. It was an amazing presentation. We got several details about the big picture of the Japanese librarianship, and we noticed that the postal service is the best thing in Japan.
Really?
Thank you so much for your sharings. And of course, if you have any question, at the end of the session, you are going to answer them. And
Of course.
our third speaker is Peter Bey. He is one of my oldest international friends. And Peter Bey is currently working at the Princeton University Library as Assistant University Librarian for Scholarly Collection Services. He was a member of the ALA RUSA STARS Executive Committee and the International ILL Committee. Peter served as Secretary of the IFLA Document Delivery and Resource Sharing Section Standing Committee. Before Princeton, he worked as an ILL librarian at the University of Albany and Columbia University Libraries. Peter is interested in the issues regarding international resource sharing. Now it's your turn, Peter. Phone is yours. Please go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Ertuğrul, for a nice introduction. Merhaba, nice meeting you all. I will start sharing my screen. Okay, give me a second. It is interesting why you prepared before, but actually when you start doing it, some issues come up. But let me make it clear. Okay,
yes.
So I hope that you can see the screen.
Yes.
Thank you. While preparing this, just before the meeting, Phyllis reminded me that this is my second or third time presenting to the colleagues in Turkey. I'm really happy to join with you. And also I thank organizers for organizing. I see that this is not only Turkish event, international names I recognize from Italy, Belgium, and if I'm not mistaken, Macedonia. So this event is going really international, and it's good. So today I wish to talk about the resource sharing during the COVID time in the US academic libraries. And also in particular, I wish to show a couple of very interesting initiatives that happened in the US during the last 6 or 7 months. And also, and finally, I wish to talk about the receive.org trend. I know that many Turkish librarians and colleagues might have said that already, but I wish to show you some of the international aspect, especially the international resource sharing aspect of this project. Okay, so this picture you see here is the Princeton University Library's entrance. Since we started the book pickup service, this is how we lay out the books by the last name. And people came up to this point and tell their name, and one of the library staff will pull the books. So people still use a lot of print books. You can see the books, in some cases, there's only 1 or 2, then there are 10, 20 books on file. They're all for one person. So some people check out 20 or 30 books. So in March, our library was closed. And at the time, we tried to say library is not closed, but we move online. We do our services online. Also, as we said, the online chat reference and all other services we offered online, including the resource sharing. So as far as we can get from the online resources, the libraries were sharing between them. Obviously, the library is closed, so you cannot scan anything from print collection, but still, if there is any chance, you can get it online. From online sources, we share each other. And then after about 3 months, our library opened to the staff. So we slowly started the services such as a pickup or digitization, and also the physical resource sharing slowly starts. But also, as you see from the current news, the US, we haven't finished the first wave, and the number of the patient is really increasing dramatically, and some states now they are closing again. And while all doing this, we started also some libraries to did home mailing services. So not only mailing their collections to their patrons' home address, but also sometimes they mail the interlibrary books to their patrons' home. It is expensive services. So in some cases, libraries thinking, why we spend $20 or $30 for mailing the books? Meanwhile, you can buy cheap used book copy for $1 or $2. Let's just buy and let the online sellers mail the book to our patron. And then when patrons finish the book, they will return to the library, and then we can catalog them. So there was another idea. There's some libraries doing it as well. So there are a couple of interesting initiatives started in this time. And one of them is what we call the HATI Emergency Temporary Access Service. We call it ETAS, ETAS. But first of all, the HATI Trust, I don't know how many of you knew about the HATI Trust, but this is a digital library consortium. There is international, there are some international members, but mostly it is in the US among the US libraries. And there are 180 member libraries currently. And this digital library consortium has 17 million volumes in its collection. So this all started when Google Book Project started in 2008. When Google started to scan the books from the research libraries, they gave a copy of all the books they scanned from one particular library to the library. So when the libraries got all those scanned PDF of those books or TIFF files, and the libraries thought, why can we combine them together and provide more services? And also we can enhance the metadata and all other things. So for now, if you go to the HATI Trust, this is, if the item is in public domain, say in the US, anything printed before 1927, I believe, are in public domain. So you should be able to access it. Well, I shouldn't say you should, but there are most likely you will have access to it. That means you can get the PDF of the entire book. Or for the members, there are different types of the access. But during this COVID time, HATI started this emergency temporary access service. So this is working only for the members. So the member libraries provide the HATI what they have in their collections. So HATI matches that record with what HATI has in their database. So if our library has, for example, Princeton has about 2 million titles that is also available in HATI. So all Princeton patrons can access to the full text of the entire book of those 2 million volumes. Not 17 million volumes, but only 2 million volumes which Princeton has as a print copy. And this is a screen that once a Princeton user authenticate as a Princeton user, and then this volume, I choose one of Turkish title. It is like a kind of dictionary, I believe. So it is available for the Princeton users to read the books online. But there are several restrictions to protect the copyright as much as we can. And from this screen, you can see maybe on the top, this work is checked out to you until 10:01 p.m. November 15th. So once this is virtually check out a book, and you can have 60 minutes. And it can be renewed unless there's no one waiting for you. So while I'm reading this book, if another Princeton patron tries to use this book, they cannot access the book. Instead, they will see this book is used by another patron, so you can try 60 minutes later, or make a hold request. So that once another person put a hold request on this title, I, who is using the current book currently, cannot renew after 60 minutes, where I have to give it to another person. And as you can see, this is digitized by Google. And the original copy is from the University of Michigan, but since Princeton has a print copy as well, I can access it. So as I said, there are 60-minute loan period. And patrons, what they do is they can just read it online. even though the interface look very elaborated, but they cannot print or they cannot download. You just read it online. And then the number of simultaneous access, so how many people can access the book at the time, depends on the number of print copies in your library. So if Princeton has 2 or 3 copies of this title, then 2 or 3 Princeton patrons can read it at the same time. So the main concept is we are lending this digital book as if it is a print copy. So if you have only 1 copy in your library and your patron check out that book, no other person can use it. Likewise, this digital copy, we apply the same rules. And then the question is, what do we do with a print copy in the library? For example, this title, what you just saw, is not checked out. This is still in the library, in Princeton University Library. But since it is available online like this way, no one can check out the books from Princeton. So we have to keep these books in the stack. And when the library is closed, there was obviously no one can check out. So that is important, the principle that Hart is following. Their interpretation of copyright and also what you call the fair use is that because of this pandemic situation, the library is closed, no one can access the print copy. So we provide the digital copy, 1 person at a time, as if it is a print copy. So that was our argument. It is not legally, okay, or no one has any law about this. So this is how the library community interprets the fair use and copyright, and we provide service for our patrons. And also, since this is only you can read online, some patrons may need a chapter or 2, then you can, extract or scan those chapters under the fair use limit, usually under 10 to 20% of the entire content. We can provide them as a PDF file. So one of the important, again, the principle of this HathiTrust emergency access service is what we call the controlled digital lending. So controlled digital lending is a concept the libraries were talking even before the COVID time. It's already a couple of years. The main thing with the controlled digital lending is we lend a digital copy as if it's a print copy. So once the library has a print copy, and you can digitize or you can make a copy as you wish, and then you transform the content and provide it to your patron in a controlled manner. So in this controlled digital lending, the controlled part is how to control your physical copy. So when you check out this digital copy to your patron, you have to control the access to the physical copy. So as far as the physical copy is secured and no one can touch it, we think the library community think that is okay because at least the 1 copy is being used by only 1 person. Then print copy is cannot access. So this was the concept, and because Princeton during this time have 2 million volumes available through the HathiTrust, but still there are books that patrons need for the entire contents, and Hathi does not have it, then we scan the book and we provide through this controlled digital lending concept. So in Princeton's case, we had already a homegrown digital asset access platform. So this title, for example, as you can see from screen, is not available from Hathi. So we scanned the entire book and put the books on our digital asset platform. And our patron, when they come to the library catalog, they can see the link to the digital file. So for now, this screen is after I log in, but before this, they have to log in and they have to make sure that they are the Princeton patron, and then they can read this book online. Again, there's no way you can download or you can, print. You can just read it. Well, obviously, you can maybe capture the screen. So you can capture maybe 300 times and put all those files, captured files together. You might have the entire book, but that is, I don't know how many people will do that. So, but still, this is when you cannot access the print volume in the library. This is a good tool for them to have an access to the book. And also in this case, again, the simultaneous access is depending on how many print copies you have. So what we do is sometimes we buy more copies so that we can ink more print copies, so that we can ink more print copies, so we can increase the number of the simultaneous access. Or if we have multiple copies, we can make maybe 2 copies, 1 copy for this CDL, another copies for the regular circulation. So people use this way. And this semester in Princeton, we did not offer any on-site class. All the class was online. So this was very useful tool for the course reserve services. Okay, and then the last thing I wish to talk about is the receive.org project. I believe some of the colleagues in Turkey already, had some presentation about this project. So this is for those who have not heard about it. I wish to tell you, you can visit this website, and then you can make the request. This is an initiative to facilitate the international interlibrary loan services. So you can make a request from here, and the volunteering librarians will be able to supply you the materials. So here is the request by supplying countries. So you should be proud of, Turkish colleagues, you should be proud of your services. So Turkey is one of the top, actually Turkey is the top country who provided materials through these services. It's almost 2,000 items has been provided. So far, as of last Saturday, we received almost 10,000 requests since we started in April, and about 60% of those articles have been filled. So that means about 60,000 articles, and Turkish provided almost 1/3 of the materials. And then this is the request submitted by you can see we have a request starting from Albania to West Indies. And, Turkish libraries submitted only 150 requests, 48 requests, while you're providing almost 2,000 requests. So you are definitely net lender, and I really appreciate for that. And then from this list of the countries, you can see the international are the international organizations which we couldn't pin which country it belongs. So this is the relations between the countries. So you can see at the top, from Australia to unknown are the countries we provide. And in the vertical, you can see all those countries who requested. The Turkey provided almost 827 articles to UK. And also Spain provided 356, so on. So the red cells are the one that you can see more relations. So for example, USA provided 721 requests to UK, and so on and so forth. So let me see more in detail, especially these are the countries where the Turkish materials or Turkish libraries has provided. So you provided all over the world. As you can see, Brazil and Honduras, and even Pakistan, Norway, South Korea, Qatar. So this is pretty impressive. With this project, I noticed that we are much more connected than before. In a way, this COVID situation makes us realize that we are very connected, and we should be connected. And these are the Turkish libraries who volunteer for this project. I really express my sincere gratitude. Çok teşekkür ederim. Thank you so much. Okay, Ertuğrul, this is all. Yep.
Thank you so much. Proud country of received initiative. I'm really proud of all my Turkish colleagues. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, our last speaker is Peter Collins. I'm going to bring you some brief information about him. Peter Collins is the Director of Resource Sharing at OCLC, a global library technology cooperative with members in more than 100 countries. Peter is the current chair of the IFLA Document Delivery and Resource Sharing Standing Committee. Peter has spent the majority of his career working in academic libraries and in resource sharing software development and for support for academic libraries library consortia. Peter, it's your turn and phone is yours. Please go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, very good.
Excellent, thank you, Ertuğrul, and it's so great to be here with you all today. So I'm going to jump right in because I know there's some questions coming in as well, so I want to make sure we have time for that. Let me see. Yes, and so what I wanted to cover today is I'm going to talk a bit about the IFLA Document Delivery and Resource Sharing Committee. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about OCLC's resource sharing network, and then how OCLC is supporting libraries during these very unusual times. So, what? I'm sorry? Oh, I heard someone talking.
It's not for you, Peter. Please go ahead.
Ne kadar bir yarım saat falan en fazla sürer.
Okay.
Arkadaşlar kim konuşuyorsa mikrofonunu kapatsın lütfen.
Thank
I'm
you.
so sorry disturbing you, Peter.
No problem at all. So this quote here is taken from the Document Delivery and Resource Sharing website, just about what our focus is. And you'll see these four initiatives I've highlighted. A lot of our work with the committee is around programming. It's around guidelines, so making sure that we help libraries internationally connect. And then IFLA vouchers are a payment mechanism that helps libraries pay for transactions, resource sharing transactions, and then the Receive program that Peter just talked a little bit about. And my PowerPoint, there we go. But first, around the programming, I wanted to highlight that 5 years ago, we were there in Istanbul for the ILDS conference. And here's a group picture of everyone getting ready. I believe that was early in the morning, but as we were waiting for a bus to head to the conference venue from where the hotels were in Istanbul. And it was just an amazing conference that we had there. And Ertuğrul was very involved. And I know a number of, probably a number of you were there or involved. So anyway, that was a great experience. And then just last fall, we also had the 16th ILDS conference in Prague. And I wanted to point out that the conference programming from the last conference in last fall, there's streaming content on the website, and there are papers. There's a lot of good content that's out there. So if you have time and you haven't looked through that or you weren't aware of that, I encourage you to go to the website and check that out. And also coming soon, very soon, we actually have chosen a venue for the 17th IFLA ILDS conference. And I am tempted to announce it here, but we haven't got our marketing together. So I am going to wait, and you'll see an announcement coming out soon about that, though. And I mentioned guidelines. So we have the guidelines for best practice in interlibrary loan and document delivery. These guidelines could use an update. We're actually, as a committee, talking about how we can get these guidelines updated. What we have now is useful, I believe, but times change, practices change, like Peter was just talking about controlled digital lending. There are a lot of issues that aren't addressed in the current guidelines, but I wanted to point out that they are available in 7 different languages on the IFLA website. And the IFLA voucher scheme, it is a way to pay for resource sharing requests. It uses a physical little card that you have to mail to the library. So it works well if you are sharing a book between libraries, because you can make the payment when you mail the resource. But we understand it is not designed for the digital age and sharing of digital documents. And so that's something we are looking for ways we can update. And we think maybe the received program that Peter talked about is a step in this direction, where we can start to rethink, what does it mean for libraries to share in a digital era? Do we need to have payments attached? If we do, can we build them into the received infrastructure instead of requiring libraries to mail these cards around? So IFLA vouchers, they're still there, they're still a thing, but we are trying to look at what the next generation of that will be. So Peter did a great presentation about the numbers around the received program, but I wanted to just show you all a little bit how it works, and how we put it together. So this is the main page, or a snapshot from that, and you can see in the search bar, I've entered a DOI URL, which can usually be found in any citation that you find in a article index or somewhere. We worked with the open access button, the folks there at open access button, and they have this lookup tool on their website, and they graciously worked with us so that that is incorporated into the front end of the received program. So in this case, I have, like I said, entered that DOI URL, and in this case, it recognized that DOI, it found the item I searched, and this happens to be an open access resource. And so it immediately connects me with the item. I can just click on that open paper in a new tab, and I can view this article right there. So I think that's an incredible tool, because if users, or if any of you in your library setting are looking for an article, you may be able to access it immediately if it is an open access resource. If I search something, this screenshot isn't that great, but if I search something that is not available open access, I search a DOI, it still recognizes what article I'm looking for. And so in this case, it knew I was looking for this article, Economic Performance of Group Affiliated Companies in Korea. And then it says that I can request it. There's a request button just below the screen capture here. And what it does is it pulls all that bibliographic information. So the journal title, the year, the volume, the page numbers, the article title, all that is pulled into the request form automatically using the information that was returned through that DOI search. And so this streamlines the process. Like, in some ways, this is more advanced than some of the forms I was using at the library I worked at a year ago. So I think it's a really neat an exciting project that the committee has worked on this year. And it isn't just the committee, it's like everyone that's involved, like Peter showed through those statistics. And now what we're really trying to do is think about what are the next steps. So any of you that have done volunteering, you know that it is a little bit cumbersome on the back end to actually fill these requests the way it's organized. So we would like to improve the request management platform and then engage the volunteer network. So many of you have been engaged, and that's great, but we want to make it fun. We want to make it, make sure people are recognized for their participation. There are a lot of things that we can do to better organize everyone in all these countries working together to share these resources. And then one of the ways that we're trying to do that is to get some grant funding. And we have submitted, just a few weeks ago, we submitted a grant request for funding that would help us make these improvements. And we're going to move forward regardless of the results of that funding. But, you know, it never hurts to have a little bit of money to help you organize, especially when you're talking about technological development and programming that would be required to move this forward as much as we want. So we also need you, and I think that actually my slides are being cut off. But anyway, this is a picture of our committee meeting August of 2019 in Athens. And the Document Delivery and Resource Sharing Committee is made up of 20 members. And this next August, 11 of us have to roll off the committee because we've served all 8 years. You can only serve 8 years or two 4-year terms on a committee before you need to roll off. And that's a great thing because it lets other people, it keeps the ideas fresh, it keeps new people coming in. But what that means is because so many of us have reached the end of our term, Peter, Ertuğrul, myself, we're all at the end of our terms on the committee this next year. We have a lot of open seats, we need your help. And you can be involved in keeping programs like Received going forward. And so there will be a call for nominations to committees coming from IFLA very soon. And I know Ertuğrul will be sharing that on listservs when it comes out. I expect it to be announced any day. Usually the nomination period runs for 2 months or around 2 months once it's announced. And so I am estimating that the deadline will be sometime in January. And I have this URL on the screen here, though you can easily just Google like IFLA nomination. There's a page. If you do just Google it, you'll find 2 different pages. One, it just says an announcement coming soon. But like the second or third result, at least when I search it, there's a page that talks a lot about the nomination process and what the expectations are for participation. And so if you've been involved in Received or you just are interested in what the committee's doing, I really encourage you to check that out. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the OCLC Resource Sharing Network. I think a lot of you are familiar with OCLC. I'm pretty new to OCLC. My background is in academic libraries. I just started in this position back in February. But one of the things that, I mean, it's common knowledge that WorldCat is big, but this slide always blows me away, the 3 billion holdings. The cool thing about being part of the OCLC Resource Sharing Network is it doesn't matter whether you're a small library or a big library, nobody has 3 billion holdings accessible to them. But when you join OCLC Resource Sharing, you have access to all of these holdings through the ILL network. And the ILL network is made up of over 10,000 libraries. And you can see this number of requests last year on the network is almost 5.5 million. So it's very active, very robust. And one of the cool things is you control your costs. So we have groups that they only borrow from free suppliers, or we have group like Peter Bay there, you know, at Princeton, they have some very unique collections. And to control the flow, they do have a charge per request, and libraries can actually subsidize their subscription, meaning IFM, which is a payment thing that credits and debits. And you get credit for supplying on the network and cover what it costs to be part of the network. And delivery's fast. Statistics from October, and we had around 100,000 articles, digital requests, delivered in 12 hours or less. And just if you want to learn more about OCLC and sort of our vision, like where we're going with the network, what I'm thinking about as far as new development in OCLC resource sharing, we just put up this web page, Library on Demand, and there's a lot of great content there. So I encourage you to check that out. But I want to keep going and just focus on what is OCLC doing to help support libraries during the pandemic, during these shutdowns, during these very unusual times. And this is a little bit hard to read, I understand, but when everything started happening in March and April, we reacted very quickly. And so first we put up a website where we started gathering all the resources. Both how do you adjust your local operation? What do you need to do locally? And then you'll see that Realm project down in the bottom corner. This is where we partnered with a scientific lab, and we are helping to run tests to know how long the coronavirus stays active, so libraries can help understand what they need to do with books and how to handle material, and help libraries reopen and manage during this time. And there's just a lot of resources. Most of these are pulled from that COVID-19 website, which is very accessible. But I did want to point out this map. It was sort of a fun project that we stood up very quickly this spring. We realized there were, now I'm forgetting, I think it was around 500,000 books or physical items out on interlibrary loan on our network when libraries started shutting down, and libraries said, I don't want people mailing stuff back to me right now. I don't know what to do with it. My building's closed. So we put up a form where libraries could say, are you accepting returns? Meaning, do you want me to mail anything back to you? And then also, are you lending physical items from your collection? Because we wanted to know, as libraries start reopening, we want to be able to see that as well. And I did just capture this snapshot focused in on Istanbul area. And we do have 2 libraries that have added their details to the map. One happens to be open, one isn't. But anyway, if you want to participate in this, it's just filling out a form. And then as things change, if you open or close, you can just make an adjustment to that form, and it will record your information live on the map. And then I just, you know, I like this quote. We do, you know, our services are cloud-based, and that has been important for allowing people to make those adjustments to be able to still supply articles from home. And this was a fun picture that one of our libraries sent in with a nice little quote. This was back in April or May when spring was blooming, but libraries were closed. And Sorry, I almost left the meeting. So anyway, just wrapping up, but I think together we succeed. I mean, that's really what document delivery and resource sharing, the projects that we're doing there, the received program, and then also, you know, it's really part of what we think about at OCLC is that we work together. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your extraordinary presentation, Peter. I would like to also invite all the other panelists to turn on their microphones and cameras to see each other. And also, I would like to thank you all for using your time efficiently. It was one of the most important things for us for online sessions, you know. There are some questions on the chat box. I already checked all the questions, and as far as I noticed that all the questions answered till now on the chat box, but maybe there was a question to Tainá. She already answered that question, but if you would like to say something about that question from Sami, which is, I think it's a general question, and if you would like to say something, please go ahead and share your comments and your views about the question, Peter. And of course, Muhteşem.
Can I add something? That Sami's question was really important because, you know, there are certain copyrights to serve our patrons better. This is not only Turkish participants here from Italy, for example. Silvana will know well. And during this time, I think in April, I remember the colleagues in Germany started the online resource sharing, especially to their patrons. The German copyright law does not allow the library send electronic file to their patrons. I think it's the same in Japan too. But German librarians started it. Because of the situation, the patrons cannot go outside, so it's giving them physical items in this situation. So they just started without having any legislation solution, but they just started it. And unfortunately, I think they had to stop after a couple of months. But I guess, you know, this is a crisis, but also the librarians make bold and loud and, you know, start small revolution on those kind of things. All these ANCOS members together, we have some power as a group. And maybe we can think about the way to change the way that we do service. So, you know, this is a really cliche, but you know, you can use crisis as you. So this is what the HATI does, what we do CDL. Still, there are publishers and authors who say about this, but you know, we are not working for the money, but we are working for our patrons. So we might have to think about it.
Thank you, Peter. Would you like to say something about Peter?
Yes, I was going to say exactly how you ended that, Peter, that sometimes, you know, that you can make change during a time like this more effectively, or the need is more apparent. I think that you know, if you look back a year ago or so, we were controlled environment. It was everyone policies, publishers assumed their infrastructure was built around business. And when those facts change, I think it allows us to renegotiate. So that's what it's going to come down to, I think, is negotiate licensed resources. And that will take some time. And yes, push the boundaries, I think, like Peter said, but also be careful and don't do anything that's going to get you in trouble. So,
and Muhteşem, do you have anything to add? Sami's question.
I just have a page, and this is a reference page actually created in Japan. It's collaborative reference. You can use your, you know, Google Translate in Japanese that you can use in Turkish or English also. Let's go and I kind of ask you to go and check that because it provides an area that people ask their questions and how they find resources. That's actually my contribution to that. So I'm sharing the link now with everyone. Think for that point. Yes. Thank you.
There is another question about the received project. Who would like to answer that question? Peter B or Peter C?
The answer is yes. We want to keep it running, and that is one of trying to get some grant funding so we can make the way you manage requests and participate. We are moving forward with this as a great alternative for even on, I talked about how big the OCLC network is because he's doing it day to day. There are still things you can't find to go to other resources. And this is a great backup measure regardless of what systems you use or have access to.
Yeah, we will continue support from the Turkish colleagues. We can go forward.
Yes,
sure.
Can't do it without you.
We are going to keep going to support the initiative, Peter. Don't worry about it. And
Thank you.
I think there is no more question on the checkbox, and we have just 4 minutes left to finish the session. I'd like to thank you for all your valuable contributions on behalf of Turkish colleagues and, of course, on behalf of UNCOS colleagues to you all, and hope to see you in another online or face-to-face meeting.
Face-to-face next time.
Hope so.
Yes, I agree.
Hopefully.
Have a nice
Yes.
evening.
Thank you. Enjoy your conference.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
İyi akşamlar arkadaşlar.
İyi akşamlar Muhteşem.